Good morning and welcome to episode 7 of the Hobby Hotline podcast, live this morning on YouTube, available for download wherever you download your podcasts. Our host this week, my friend John Newman from Sports Card Nation.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone's doing well and staying healthy and occupying their time. Got a great show coming up.
Absolutely. And we got Drew Herndon, our MC this morning from Let Me Get That Potograph podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Glad to be back. Glad to be on the show. And like John said, we got a good one for you, man.
We do. And then I'm Ben Wilson with at Our Trading Cards from the About the Cards podcast. And just a little bit about the Hobby Hotline. We are the hobby's only live call-in show. We're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard, 11 Eastern on YouTube and Periscope. You can follow us on Twitter at the Hobby Hotline. And like I said before, we're available as a podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Overcast, and TuneIn. And if this is your first time tuning in, we do have a wide array, a large roster of podcast hosts that kind of rotate in and out on a weekly basis. And this is your show. So if you're out there listening, if you're out there watching, and you have a question, you want to talk about the state of the hobby, let's get started.
No,
yep,
absolutely. Go right
quick,
ahead, John.
Dr. James Beckett scheduled to appear today.
Yes.
I'm not sure when he's going to pop in. Could be any minute or a little bit later. But again, if like Ben just pointed out, this is your show. And so when Dr. Beckett is here, do you have any questions on your mind? You're not all the time. You're going to get the chance maybe to ask someone of that stature, maybe something you've always wanted to. Today's going to be your chance.
Exactly. And guys, as always, I'm posting the link right now in the StreamYard. The link is right there. Please, in the restream, I should say. So you will see that comment pop up. Please make sure to call in and join the show today. We would love to have you on. We'll also have it scrolling across the screen as well. As always, like we say, this is your guys' show. This is what we do it for, is to talk with you guys. Luckily, we have some a really cool guest coming today, Dr. James Beckett. But guys, this has been, we talk a lot about how we're in the craziest time in the hobby, whether it be card prices, cards selling for $900,000 that are non-autographed with logo patches in them, or if it's Gary V, there was an entire episode recently on Gary V. And now this week, yet again, it seems we're talking about something that's dominating the hobby. Unfortunately, this time, of course, being the negative, in the negative light. But guys, this is one of the most unique and just crazy times, not only in the world. A lot of what we say today probably can be prefaced for the world, but just in the hobby.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, amidst all this negativity, our friend Ryan Cracknell with Beckett, he wrote a great article saying there's 11 things you can do. I added a 12th one and kind of tagged all of us saying, hey, listen to podcasts.
For real. Yeah. Come on, Ryan. Right.
But it's a great article. I don't want to trump,
it's wonderful.
Step on his toes. You got to read it. But think about it. Instead of negativity, man, sort your cards, go through a binder. Reach out to the podcast and say, hey, I got a story to tell. I bet any one of us, we made that offer on our show. I'm sure you guys are available. If somebody's like, hey, I want to tell my story. If you're free, I'm sure you'll hop on a camera with somebody for a half hour and do a impromptu show. This morning, this is your chance to talk about it and say, hey, with this downtime, I plan to do the following. I want to get rid of some cards. I want to prep for trades or the next show that inevitably will happen at some point, or reassess my collection. Turn any of the negatives. You're stuck at home with your family. Pull out the Monopoly. Pull out the Sorry.
Jude and I were playing Go Fish yesterday for hours. So
I bet he kicked your butt too.
Oh, of course, dude.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
I don't play Monopoly. I don't think Monopoly is a good indoors game when you can't go out. I think Monopoly is the what we're not supposed to play because we can't. You can't fight with our family. But just, hey, turn it around. Go through some stacks of cards that you hadn't planned to. I got a huge stack that's organized that I need to put into binders that are hits and relics and all this stuff that has just been growing dust probably for 6 months. It's a good time.
It is.
Good time.
No, and that's you nailed it. It's we can sit here, and I mean I did the special with Brian Gray where we talked about all the negativity and all the negative stuff on here, and I think we're gonna do our best to steer away from that today because we have, like we said, a wonderful guest on. What's up, Byron? How's it going? Thanks for joining the show, my friend. But like you said, there's so much good that can come out of this, and there's a lot of good that's going to come in out of the hobby through all this.
Absolutely.
Quite honestly, like a ton. But yeah, it's John.
This we haven't seen anything. Let's be real. I'm old, so I've seen a lot of stuff, whether I like it or not. Yeah. We've never seen, truth be told, anything to this level. We're talking about diseases and work stoppages, N1, SARS, 9/11, but things always sort of kind of came back to normalcy fairly quickly, depending on the situation. This is very different in the terms of the economy effect. People get losing jobs or being sent home. Yeah. But like Ben just pointed out with Ryan's article, it's also a good opportunity to take that downtime,
yes,
to catch up on maybe some stuff you haven't got to.
Exactly, 100%. And Rich, good morning, Mr. Rich Klein. I see you watching the show. Scott, Mike, everybody, 1977 Cloth, Theoden. We appreciate all y'all watching and everyone watching here on Facebook as well. But
well, there was something that came up this week on our timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, our friend Joey Dub Mentality had posed a question on Twitter either yesterday or Thursday, and he's like, if you had an opportunity, it's that age-old question, right? If you had an opportunity to have dinner with 4, historical figures, dead or alive, who would they be? And I thought it was a really cool question because he put a hobby spin on it. If you had an opportunity to have dinner with 4 people in the hobby, who would they be? And then people are like, well, what about, say, our podcast, for instance, is 3 people, right? Do those count as 1, or are they 3 individual people? And I thought, what a cool kind of conversation to get us going. I'd love to have dinner with the 2 of you guys. We've literally got a guy who's on the Mount Rushmore of the hobby coming on this morning, and Dr. Jim Beckett. And how cool would it be to just be a fly on the wall? We were talking about his relationship before the show started with Rich Klein, another hobby legend. Dude, how cool would it be just to be sitting at a restaurant, not even at their table, just next to it, and listening and taking notes as the 2 of those guys talk? I mean, what a cool exercise of who would be your top 4, because the second you start writing down names, you're going to end up with 100 names.
That's what I was about to say. Like, as soon as you posed that question, I was hoping you weren't going to ask who my 4 were, because I'm going through the list in my head and I'm starting to look and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, there's absolutely no way. I'd have to do what you just said. I'd have to sit at the table next to about 30 different people in groups of 4 and just pick those brains.
You literally just set a tape recorder on their table.
Yeah.
Like the salt and pepper shakers, and say, okay, guys.
Exactly. Hey, I've seen Impractical Jokers. You can put a mic in just about anything. These cans, coffee cup, anything. So
you can. I mean, what a fun idea. And I think we need more of that, especially if you're on Twitter or Facebook, where, what would be, I had posed a question. I got a ton of feedback. I was actually going to run through and try to find the statistics. I asked a question the other day. If you could go back to 1 year, I want both of you guys to answer this after I'm done. Go back to 1 year in your collecting life. Okay, so you can't go back to 52 because we're not that old.
Okay.
What 1 year would you like to relive as a collector? For me, it's 1987. I was 8. It's the first year I collected. John, what year would you go back to?
And real fast, John, before you answer, everyone watching, please, we would love to have you call in and answer this question as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, I'm not saying this to get your goat, Ben. Believe this is an honest answer. 1985, and it actually has nothing to do, honestly, with Mark McGuire. For whatever reason, I was 13. I picked a year that was before I got into like doing shows and having the card store. I wanted to do it when I was in a sense a pure collector and didn't have any, other conflicts of interest, if you will. I picked 85. For whatever reason, that year I just loved the the releases of the cards, what the design, 85 Topps, 85 Donruss, even the Fleer, even though I'd put it third as far as design. Some of the rookies that year. I don't know. I just remember opening a ton of 85 Donruss. Like I had no money left. Whatever little money I had, it really went into 85 Donruss, and it just the one year. When I look back at like what year got me to really kind of like I was in it for the long haul. There was no turning back. I'd say it was 85 for me. If 85 didn't happen, I probably wouldn't, be still around.
Yeah. Well, this is that's a great answer. Jim, I'm the youngin' here, I guess, 35. So mine obviously. If I go back to 85, I'm looking at collecting in diapers. So mine's a little bit different here. But,
what's the difference between how you collect now, then, right?
Dude, come on, man. And they can only see from the table down. Stop giving away trade secrets.
We're all naked from the waist down. That's the one thing. Well, that's the one benefit of this show.
I didn't know that the rules were we had to wear pants. So.
There's no rules.
I was about to say we never made that rule, but it was very simple for me. I have to go back to 96, 97. For me, multiple reasons. One, John, like you said, the card designs. But that was just a special time in collecting for me. That was when I was 12, 13. I never lived in an area where card shows and stuff were big. So card shows was something that literally the National in Cleveland, my first National, was the second card show I'd ever been to. Like card shows were not part of like my life growing up, but 96, 97, not only the designs of the cards, the classic cards that debuted, such as Finest and such as Chrome, stuff that's legendary to me and dear to my heart, and I still have a lot in the collection. That's when Pacific was doing some of their outlandish stuff. Be a Player Hockey was getting into on-card autograph content for a while. Lots of different things were happening, but I just remember those days more fondly as just that was the time that I really felt like I truly fell in love with the hobby. Like, even though I took that little bit of time away, like a lot of people do, you come back to it, and that love that you had as a kid, it's right back there. And sure. I think the 96, 97 season, just with everything that was going on probably in my life, and just the memories I have of that year and those cards, that I'd have to go with 96, 97.
Now, somebody that had brought up a really good
point. What's up, Dub? What's up, Brian?
This would be hard to challenge, honestly. One of the best years, if you're a multi-sport guy, baseball, basketball, football, even hockey, 1984 is really tough to beat because the looks of those, the aesthetics, the collectability. Obviously, there was a lot of good rookies in 82, 83 in baseball, so they were still young in 84. You obviously have Fleer Update that had the Strawberry and the Puckett and the Clemens. But you post a picture of baseball, football, and hockey, and he's like, "This is the first year I started." And I, really to start building sets, I was like, man, as much as I love 87 and I have it's in my blood. Again, Drew, I mean, I wouldn't have been collecting in 84 myself, even though I was, 5. Yeah. But man, 84 was a solid year across the board. And, again, if you're listening out there, call in. What year?
Yeah, we actually got one. Why? We actually got one. So we got our first caller, and he is one of our regulars. Glad to have him back joining the show today. What's going on, buddy? Who's what year for collecting for you? Or if you had a different question, fire away, my friend.
Well, I think that if I had to go back to a year I was collecting, it would probably be 2017. You had my game with Judge.
Okay.
Judge.
Nice.
And thinking basketball, you had Jason Tatum.
Well, yeah, you've definitely got some legendary rookie classes there. Yeah. Those are some those are some of the iconic years I think we're going to look back on here in the future as one of those legendary years. But thanks so much for your answer, man. And as always, thanks for calling in. Guys, sometimes I do want to just preface something real fast, Ben.
Go for
sometimes, guys, when we have a guest like Mr. Beckett on and we do expect a lot of callers, sometimes, we got to get the question in and get the question out.
Sure.
Other times we can obviously have as big of a discussion as you'd like. But occasionally from time to time, we may have to balance you out kind of quickly. To apologize for that sometimes. But Ben.
No, I was just going to follow up on the year he selected. Obviously, he's a younger collector, which is awesome. But 2017, it's kind of brought in and ushered in the wave that we're seeing right now with all the speculators. Aaron Judge increased exponentially. He was highly collectible, so much so that I muted his name on Twitter because I was tired of everybody flooding that name all over. But I think if for the people that have that mentality and like to speculate and buy and flip, if you could go back to the end of 2016 with what we know now, 2017 would be an awesome year to gobble up all those Aaron Judges. And I think that's kind of the seed in the ground that now has sprouted into this, beautiful garden.
No, absolutely. And real fast, Jacob, thank you so much. He says, first time here, just subscribe to everybody's podcast. This is great. Thanks, man. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for subscribing to all of these shows.
Check's in the mail.
Yep, check is in the mail. You're not
open it up with gloves on.
What is up with you guys giving away trade secrets today? Anyway.
The great thing about this question too, Drew, is there's no wrong answer. Those are the best questions when you can't get them wrong, and to each their own. Again, whatever. There's different reasons why certain years. 85, even for me. Looking back, it wasn't a great rookie year. Puckett, maybe McGuire.
I mean,
but,
dude, I could go
Strawberry.
I could go to 2015. I could go to 2015, right when Jude was born, right when I got heavily back into it because I wanted to be ready when he was there to hopefully be able to start doing it. There's so many different I think reasons and years that everyone could choose from. That I think that's what makes, like you said, John, such an awesome question and discussion, which in these times is what we need, something fun and something to just take a break. But I want to touch Ben's on something that you just mentioned, and I didn't plan on talking about it, but it's 1,000% true. So I want to touch on it. And you said you went back to Judge and you talked about knowing what if you could go back and know in 2016 that the hobby right now was going to be what it was going to be. Not right this second, obviously, but let's go back 3 weeks ago before the world went batshit crazy. Like if you knew that really was that time with Judge Bellinger, that craze, it was the turning point really of where the hobby took that step from, it's doing good, but it had stagnated since LeBron, it had stagnated. Giannis wasn't who he is yet, and all of that. And so I think it's really, I think it's a really interesting and a dead on point that like that 2016 time and that 2017 time was really the time in the hobby that pushed everything, to the next level that we're at. But y'all, we've
go ahead. No, do we have somebody else that's ready? Okay.
Yeah, in just a minute.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the hobby, the ebb and flow of the hobby, right? How the junk wax era ushered in and why it is so, it's got a black eye on it now just because of the overabundance and overproduction of cards. And you had a large lull from the late 90s through, around the turn of the decade, 2010-ish, there was a good 15-year window where cards were being less produced. If you go to Trading Card Database and you type in 1989 and then you type in 2017 and then you type in say 2006, just the amount of listings that come up for overall releases, it's amazing to see that dip and when it went down and now it's back up. And but to John's point, it's so fun when we argue about what your favorite set is, or why you collect the way you collect, or you're doing it wrong and I'm doing it right. And it's much like, if we were sitting here arguing about the Panthers versus Steelers versus Raiders, there's no right or wrong
answer. The Panthers would win. Oh, no, there is.
But then when you flip it back, there's certain things we can argue about the right and wrong way to collect. But then when you go back to the year that you personally would like to go back to, there's no way you can argue that, because it's so subjective, it's so individualistic, and it's you're connected to it for whatever your reason is.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about that question, because everybody's coming back. This is my story.
Yeah, and that's some of the stuff we need, instead of using social. I think right. But we've got our very special guest hold, so I don't want to keep him on hold too long. But that's where I think we've kind of gotten away in social media, where nowadays we'd rather post something where we argue, and where we wanted to where it should be a debate, and it could be a healthy debate, but we turn into arguing and all this nonsense. And so, like you said, questions like that are just like things I think we need to get back to as well. Guys,
let's ask the doctor when he hops on.
I was about to say, we're sitting here talking about years in collecting, and we're sitting here talking about the collecting world, and we've got a man on the line now that I am very, very honored to be bringing onto this show. I mean, you talk about that Mount Rushmore, and who do you want to sit in on a conversation with? Well, we're lucky enough to have one of them today. And that, of course, is Mr. Jim Beckett. You guys know him as Dr. Beckett. How you doing today, sir?
Great to be here, Drew. I hate to interrupt your conversation. Usually I listen to the Hobby Hotline as a podcast, not live. I listen to it like on Monday or something like that, but participate live with you guys. I really enjoy the show. Every week it's a little bit different.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate that. So before we get started, should we call you Jim, or should we call you the doctor?
Yes.
The reason my podcast is titled Dr. James Beckett is because when I get Dear James letters, I know there are people that don't know me. So I'm just
So if you haven't been listening in, and even if you have, I'm sorry to reiterate, but if you could go back in your lifetime, your collecting lifetime, and relive any 1 year of collecting, the entire 12-month window, what year would you select?
Well, anybody, not to be greedy, but I'd go back to my earliest days and buy all the cards that were.
Excellent answer.
I passed on some, I've mentioned it, I passed on some of the great cards in the industry. I've been the underbidder, not wanting to go a little bit higher. And I look back and I think, wow, that was, it would be a round off error now for what I could have had. I still have a very nice collection. I'm not complaining, but obviously it's, when you go back in time, who could have predicted, and who could predict what the situation we're in now? It's, we're in unusual times where the future is the future will be different, and it's somewhat uncertain.
Sure.
Well, real quick, a follow up on that. When you look at where we're at right now, I don't want to spend too much of the time on just this, but like you just said, the future being different. When you see everything that's going on right now, how do you think the hobby itself will rebound from all of this?
I'm sure it'll rebound. I mean, some aspects of the hobby will not be as affected as others, but
yes.
If you're an older person, or if you're in poor health, if you're a smoker, if you have some of those coronavirus, COVID-19 risk factors, my guess is even next year, the year after, you're going to have to be really careful. I mean, the social distancing will be less of a big deal once they get this COVID-19 handled a little bit better for people that are in really good health. But older people, I think my parents need to be very careful for the rest of their lives.
Sure.
And
unfortunately,
it's a wake-up call. I just think this quarantine is going to be really difficult to enforce. And for younger people, I mean, the biggest problem is people that, if you get sick, then you get well. But my parents are 94, if they get sick, they probably won't get well. And there's people, if you go to a card show, card shows, we always talk about the absence of kids.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Now it may be the absence of people over 70 or 75 or 80.
That'd be too bad.
Don't want to go out.
Yeah. Dr. Beckett, first off, welcome. Thanks for giving us some time on the show. You've done two of your sports card insights were pertaining to COVID-19. Very well done, obviously. And you touched on this on the show that, the economic effect is, not to belittle the health effect, which is life is precious, but the economic effect too is immense, and people getting laid off, doors getting locked, and it's going to something I touched on. It's going to affect that discretionary income, maybe that extra money that people sort of got used to having prior to this event that may not be there now. And so that obviously not just sports cards, but just overall spending in general is going to obviously be affected. That's why it's an economy issue. So I think, the hobby, now coming back to the hobby, I think it is going to, affect the hobby. I think, the hobby prior to this was at one of its peaks, at it booming at a height that we haven't seen in a long time before. I think that's going to help, but I think you're going to see maybe a little bit of, I think you even mentioned almost like a holding pattern, like, hey, I'm going to hang on. But you also mentioned, someone may have to decide, like if income becomes an issue, I may have to sell some of my inventory that maybe I normally wouldn't have under normal pretenses. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of gears that can affect, and the situation's fluid. I mean, every day we're hearing something else, and we don't even know how long this kind of, stay in place, or restaurants and non-essential businesses type of things have to close the door to walk in. So we don't even know how long officially this is going to go. So there's just so much. But you did two shows, and I thought you really hit on some very important and good points.
No, oh no, go right ahead, Jim, please.
Well, basically, you're right, John. I think that I got a lot of smart friends, and not all of them are in the hobby. There's some in the hobby, some not in the hobby, but politically well connected, and what I find it equally messed up in the sense that the health effects, the pandemic effects of the COVID-19 go from being wildly underestimated to being wildly overestimated. And I don't have a crystal ball to know if the truth is somewhere in the middle, or if it's very bleak, or we're going to get through this more quickly. By the same token, the economic effects, and I think the economic effects are being underestimated. I think the economic effects are going to be greater. Not to be a political economist, but $1 trillion, if we're quarantined for 6 weeks, $1 trillion is not going to fix the problem.
No, not at all.
Big number. So,
especially when it's to stimulate the economy, is it not? But yet we can't go anywhere.
Right.
There's a great line from The West Wing when they did a stimulus package, and they asked one of the characters, "Where'd you spend the money?" He says, "I paid down credit card debt." And the president's like, "We would have rathered you go to the Banana Republic and spend it."
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, where most of us might, if we have enough disposable income and feel safe in our personal finances, we might hop on the eBay and try to grab some good deals. But overall, like you said, $1 trillion isn't enough to suffice people who are losing their jobs.
Right. And
everybody listening to this podcast is interested in cards. It's a hotline. And so if you have cards, or you have knowledge about cards, everybody listening has the potential. Either they have a side gig, or they have the potential to have a side gig. And that's what a lot of people don't have. You have the ability to buy and sell, and there's going to be some things that look like good deals and maybe good deals for buying. But eventually, especially in the next 6 weeks, finding the supply and demand equilibrium has been disturbed.
Yeah,
you're going to go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just gonna say myself and Brian Gray had a talk this week about a lot of that same stuff, Jim. And you're dead on. There's gonna be a lot of very interesting stuff going on. But real quick, guys, I just wanted to remind you, if you do have a question for Dr. Beckett, please leave it in the comments. And real quick, we do have one from our good friend Dub Mentality. Who Mr. Beckett would love to know. That he says he knows you're a Clemente guy, and he wants to know, aside from the rookie card, what your favorite Clemente is, and do you collect any of the current reprints, or I'll even go any further, any of the current Clemente stuff that's out there, whether it be a back barrel, anything.
Wait a minute. I thought I was calling in. I thought I got to ask the question. Actually, I'm not as aggressive of a Clemente guy. I have a lot of the old stuff from when he was playing, and the newer stuff, I'll pick it up, I'll hold on to it, but I don't aggressively go after it anymore. There's just too much stuff out there. And, the problem with, everybody has this problem, not just me, but, if they see me coming, they think, we're going to Clemente card, and if it's a one of one or very limited, they put any price they want to on it. And so I cool my jets a little bit on that. I've got plenty of stuff. I told my wife my plan is to have less cards each year. So buying new ones needs to replace something that goes out the door. But the Clemente stuff is very dear to me. I probably have said this. One of my favorite cards is his rookie card autographed, and I wasn't there to have it autographed, but I got it from a guy that had that I've had it for a long time, and I really, it's a great connection to have personally autographed cards, rookie cards. I think it may be an undervalued thing. They're catching on a little bit more, but so that's probably my favorite Clemente.
Awesome.
And I know Dr. Jim knows this, but Clemente was actually in the Brooklyn Dodgers system. Obviously, moved on to the Pirates and became the Hall of Famer we know him as. But a lot of people don't know that.
They were hiding him there.
Yeah. So Ben, I know we were discussing before the show, doing some pre-pro, and you said that I know we've got to get to the pressing issue at hand. I know while we have Mr. Beckett here in the honor of having him on the show,
85.
He didn't even have to ask the question.
He knew it.
All right, I
guess for that.
I had it all worked out. I was going to preface it because it's such a debate. The real answer is, hey, collect what you like, right? I've got 60 85s. I've got 600 plus 87s. But with all due respect, I love you. It's 87. We're smarter now than we were back then. I understand. Now let me ask you this. When did Beckett, the print magazine, you had to decide in 1987 to decipher what that Olympic class was for all of those players and how you were going to define those as rookie cards versus whether their first card was actually 86, 87, 88 or so. What was a little bit of the backstory being just from the print magazine price guide side?
Well, McGwire wasn't the only problematic, iconic player that had controversial rookie cards. So I'll admit there's controversy there. He's not in a uniform. He's a Team USA or whatever. But he wasn't the only guy with doing that. And we started doing like first Donruss card, and we put first Topps card on the 52 Mantle, and it got so complicated that with Donruss, Fleer, and Topps at that time. And then when Score came in, and of course every Score card would be the first scorecard.
Sure.
But if it was the first card of the player of anything, then it'd be a rookie card. So over time, as you say, it kind of became to each their own. It's amazing to me that the 52 Topps mantle has way surpassed the 51 Bowman mantle, which is, certainly the rookie card and a very tough card in its own right, and very condition sensitive as well.
But highly fraudulent too. So many, the 52. I don't know what the ratio would be, but I don't think there's nearly as many 51s that are out there that are printed in somebody's aged to look authentic. And for me, and I've got all of the arguments as to why the 87 is the true rookie card. And I've got the 85 sitting on my desk in the living room, mine that I had as a kid, because it was highly sought after. And there are so many guys that were on multi rookie cards in the 60s and 70s, like Lou Piniella, I think was one of them, if I'm not mistaken. And again, we're smarter now because the hobby has shifted. In today's market, the 85 Olympic class would be their XRC, or their similar to their first Bowman cards, where you have these Bowman, and then whenever they're released in flagship, that's their true rookie card. But if you want to get a Vlad Guerrero rookie card, are you after the Series 2 no number from last year, or are you after one of the other 73 that are available to you? Because technically they're all rookie
73 cards. Like a 173.
well, with all the variations,
Topps did it again this year too. They just put Robert as a short print in opening day, and obviously he'll be the key in Series 2. So along those lines, which one like he's asking? I think that's a great question. What would be considered that first rookie?
Yeah, and as far as collectability goes, again, I've got a lot of the 85s, and my wife's like, why? And I'm like, well, because why not? It was a highly sought after card when I was a kid that cost a young child, $20+ at the time, upwards of $100 at different points. And I can get them now all day long for $6. Why wouldn't I want as many as I can afford? Because, it's the 40-year-old buying for the 10-year-old, so to speak.
Well, the reason I like the show is because there's healthy debate. And in a healthy hobby, there's going to be difference of opinion, and each one is entitled to their own. And,
sure.
When you get down to it, it comes down to just dollars and cents. So you're welcome to pursue the 87 Topps and accumulate those at a lower price. And at some point, they may become more and more in vogue. But again, it's a healthy debate. Even controversy is good, as long as it's not controversy about life and death matters. I mean, there ought to be not attacking the other person, but attacking the ideas. Again, it's what's enjoyable and dynamic about this show. You have differences of opinions. I don't aggressively disagree with you, but I don't agree with you.
No, and that's why I wanted your insight, because you were there, and you were, every kid had the Beckett tucked under their arm as they go into the, the card show, and they're going to look up their pricing, and they're going to, that's why, because of your legendary status within the hobby, I had to ask, more, why did 85 versus 87? Our good friend Rich Klein had kind of shared, the backstory with me a little bit, and again, there's no right or wrong per se. They're both rookie cards. I have a whole list of all of his 87s that I collect personally because I enjoy it as an A's collector and a McGuire fan. And but I will tell you this: no less than a dozen people hit me up over the past couple of days and said, "You're going to be on with the doctor on Saturday. If you don't ask him about that card, we will, and whatever he says goes. It's written in stone now."
There's a historical record. I mean, you can dig up the old back issues and look. I mean, but one of the last things I did before selling the company, one of the big issues, we were being lobbied very aggressively by the Major League Baseball Players Association. This is in the fall of 2004. Very aggressively lobbied to change the definition and to be more restrictive about what they were saying the quote unquote true rookie card was. And they had interest in revising the definition, and a definition that actually would play into the way you see it, Ben.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you settling that because, it's an age-old debate, and I'm not going to not get trolled because now I'm going to my Twitter's probably going on fire.
I just love that I didn't have to even ask the question.
Well, to Ben's credit, like a good captain, he's going down with the ship. He's not jumping off with it.
No.
No, and I appreciate your thoughts on that, and Rich's, we, like I said, we went back and forth, and my Twitter's probably blowing up with everybody that had watched and said, well, now you have to concede. That's not going to happen. So, where do you see the hobby? Aside from this, are we in a modern day junk wax breaker era, speculator era? Do we think that there's this big bubble? I mean, obviously, I've had plenty of thoughts on this. What are your thoughts? Are we in a bubble, and is it going to burst soon?
Wow.
The dynamic element in the hobby, people think that the opposite of love is hate. It's not. It's apathy. So,
yes,
as long as again, one of the signs of a healthy industry is that you have this abuse on eBay of declaring things to be one of ones and these other kind of fake listings. It's because people know that certain descriptors gain attention, and so the problem will be if the scammers leave. That's actually a bad thing. It's actually a bad thing. The people that are promoting and seeing that there's a buck to be made, that's healthy. Now, it's not healthy if that's 10% of the people. If it's 1%,
right,
it's to be tolerated. If it's 20%, we got big problems, and the FBI is going to come in. But a little bit of people seeing that there's an opportunity to make a buck in this industry, that's very healthy. That's very healthy. Again, we as the collecting leaders, if you're doing a podcast like you guys are, I mean, you have a following. And so we don't want to promote the bad guys. But again, it's an industry. It's not regulated. So it needs to be regulated by us. And I mean me as a private person, not as, I'm retired now.
Now, real fast, just to follow up on that, because that's something I discuss on Let Me Get That Potograph frequently, is the lack of regulation in this industry in any way, shape, or form. Which going back, we were just discussing before you were on the air, even as early as 2014, 2015, that quote unquote regulation may not have been needed near as much, but it's getting to the point now where the hobby is just exploding to the point of so much. Do you think that we're at a time now where, obviously there's some stuff going on, and you mentioned FBI. I mean, obviously there's some stuff going on right now and investigations going on right now. Do you think it's time that not necessarily government regulation, but some type of possibly revamp to how we, really do quote unquote regulate this hobby, or are we beyond, kind of, have we jumped the shark on that? Have we passed that point of no return, so to speak?
Well, like I said, if it's 1%, then to me that's to be tolerated, and you've got to educate people to say there are some bad apples out there. If something seems too good to be true, maybe it is. If people are discovered, doing repeated kinds of things, then the hobby itself, my position, the hobby ought to take care of it, and not as a group of vigilantes. But there's a paper trail. These are physical products. They have serial numbers. So I know what people are thinking, but and Drew, you've done some great detective work, and others. I mean, I hope criminals get found out, and maybe they're petty criminals, but they're criminals nevertheless. They're messing up our hobby, our industry, and I don't want I did an episode yesterday about what if President Trump would cards, and I just thought, would he? He's not big into regulations, but he sure doesn't want anybody messing with him.
No,
he'd do it his way, and you got to be careful what you wish for. Like I said. It wouldn't be so bad to have another billionaire collecting cards in our industry, you know, we really need people that play by the rules and enjoy what is a very wholesome hobby. There's so many ways to make money honestly. Just enjoy the hobby, and it can be lucrative.
Now, if I can ask a quick follow-up, because there's a lot of people on Twitter that get a lot of flack for being a hashtag hobby gatekeeper. People that either want to keep people out or aside. And if I'm understanding you correctly, you do think that as a hobby, all of us, all 7 million of us, you know, the good group of us, whatever they are, 97, 98% of us, should to a degree be hobby gatekeepers in that sense, right?
Well, for your own personal gate, sure. I mean, I'm not in favor of guilty until proven innocent. I'm not in favor of justice, where there's plenty of internet trolls out there that do things for their own best interest and not for the good of the hobby. But you guys, people, I listen to all the podcasts in the industry, that I know of, and really, maybe there's an exception, but for the vast majority, they're very positive, and they want the industry to be cleaned up and be healthy. I choose to focus on what's good, and if somebody did me wrong, I'm not going to deal with them anymore.
Right.
Dr. Beckett, you mentioned earlier when you were speaking, that this will change the hobby. I mean, long term, it just probably has to happen. I just wanted to kind of put you on the spot. Like, what do you see? Like, even when this is kind of settled down and we come out of this, how do you think maybe what things may be different, like permanently, hobby wise?
Back at the peak, we had almost 20,000 card shops that got our magazine. It was pretty amazing. And now I don't know if there's 1,000 or what, but if there are any of them, any local card shops that don't have a strong virtual, digital, online presence, they have to if they want to survive. And LCS without a digital presentation is not going to make it. I mean, I'm not talking about the next 6 weeks. I'm talking about for the future. The internet, the digital, not necessarily digital cards, but just the transactions. I'm a big fan of the LCS, but they're going to need to have a digital presence as well. If they don't, they're in jeopardy. If they do, then they have a way to widen their market.
Well, yeah, you as a smart business person, you want to have as many different avenues as possible, because in a local market, I'm here in the general Bay Area, Northern California, so we're going to see a lot of A's and Giants. We're going to see a lot of Niners and Raiders and San Jose Sharks and Kings and Warriors. But then you got somebody in John's neck of the woods who's up there in that New York, New Jersey area. The Yankees cards over here, an Aaron Judge rookie card might not sell nearly as well here as it would in his market. So yeah, you do need to be able to draw that secondary, third, fourth, fifth different consumer market. And if you're not, as an LCS, if you're not trying to expand your consumer base into the social media, you're missing out on a lot of revenue streams potentially.
Well, I think also with the way when we talk about youth collectors and bringing the younger generation into the hobby, they've grown up with all this. I mean, I was in college when Facebook was invented. I remember when all this stuff started and everything. And I was kind of at the users they were pointing at. But the generation after us, the younger kids, they grow up on the internet. So much of this stuff is done on eBay. I know plenty of young kids who have you'd be blown away at the money that they spend on eBay during a weekend online. And so I think any card company, just or like you said, any LCS, they just you have to have that social media footprint, especially to bring in that younger generation and to legitimize yourself in their eyes.
Well, what I'm saying is that was an appropriate thing, a nice thing, months ago. Now it's a necessity.
Yes, 100. I could not agree with you more there.
And one thing, you know, I've said this recently on my show with the COVID-19, what's going on. I know they tell you, you know, stay home, but if you have an LCS that's good to you, that you're fond of, you love, you know, now's a crucial time. They're still open and their doors are still open. Go in there and support them. That way they can stay open, you know, as well. You know, even if it's going in there, buying a few packs, because what's going to happen is their business is going to drop up with a lot of the walk-in. I hate to say fly by night, but when sports are going on, they'll get a mother coming, hey, my son, his favorite players, you know, Giannis. Do you have any Giannis? They're going to lose that sort of aspect of their business, which is all the more important why they have to have that digital presence.
Yeah.
Or maybe the other lines where they break some products. But if you do have an LCS, I can't stress it strong enough. Get in there sometimes, you know, support them, buy a box, buy some singles. They need you more now than ever.
Now, if you don't mind, Dr. Beckett, I just want to switch gears for just a moment because there's a question that I really wanted while you were on that I wanted to kind of get your opinion on, and it's something that a lot of people have been asking me about, and I see a lot of complaints about these days in the hobby, well before all of this stuff started. But you know, now that you're like, you know, you do your show, you're still very, very involved in the hobby, obviously. What do you, when it comes to distribution these days, like we were talking about LCSs and being able to stay open, one of the biggest problems that I know an incredible store here in North Carolina has, Scoremore, is the fact that their distribution has been, and their allocations have been cut so severely by the breaking aspect and everything else that's going on. What are your thoughts on the current like distribution method? And is it time, you know, to possibly tweak this a little bit so it's not all going to the breaking aspect, and so the LCSs and the places like that can get these allocations again?
Well, like Ben said, I mean, the card companies are no different from the LCS situation. They're using any and all means to sell their cards, and the mix is changing. And it's like what we're saying. I mean, just in the question, you're saying that if you have a local card shop and you don't have a strong digital presence, maybe don't do breaking, then your allocation. I mean, the card companies appear to be seeing that the breakers are inevitable, and if somebody's that's you know, they're all capitalists. They're trying to do what's best for them. I know they care about the industry. I have a lot of friends that work at the card.
Oh yes, same here.
But they're making business decisions based on what they think will work best. And like I said, if you're a local card shop, you better get with the program because the world is changing.
Yeah, that it is.
Well, yeah, and you're seeing more and more of that. You know, obviously Topps has all of these new on-demand products, which is catering. You know, there are a lot of people that like to go to the store still and will buy from a physical brick and mortar. But you have so many people that have adopted the Amazon lifestyle of everything can be delivered to my front door as I need it, same day delivery. And you know, it's smart of Topps and to a lesser degree Panini to be able to adopt that mindset and say, hey, look, there are a lot of people that want on-demand products that, you know, aren't looking for hobby boxes and whatnot. And really for somebody like myself that collects one team, it really fits into my collecting lifestyle of just give the more A's cards you can give to me. I don't really care how I have to come by them. I'm not going to open up the box. And that unfortunately is going to hurt the LCSs and brick and mortars just because, you know, that's sales out of their pocket. So they're going to have to pivot and adapt in this ever-changing world if they want to compete. Otherwise, we're going to see fewer and fewer, especially as retail gets more and more prevalent, assuming that Walmart and Target don't pull products off their shelves, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do at some point.
Yeah.
Another thing that hasn't been brought out is that if you break collectors into two groups, one, people that know what they want, and people that don't know what they want. I'm actually in the second group. I don't know what I want. If I go to a card show or go into an LCS, I'm looking around. I don't have a set want list. I'm more. I lack focus. Now I have some certain things I will notice and I would pick up, but that kind of person it's going to be difficult now. If Rich and I joke about going through these dollar boxes, well, it could take a couple hours. Sure. I don't know that people are going to do that anymore, of sitting around or standing around to spend 2 hours with people coughing on you. If you're focused, if you go into a card shop, you know what you want. It's like going into it's like pickup or delivery at a restaurant. You make your order, and they can give, but you have to know what you want.
Right.
If you want an 87 tops McGuire and they have one, the price is right, you're going to go and get that. Are you going to, in this post COVID-19 world, are you going to linger in the card shop for 2 or 3 hours and mingle with all the people coming? Like I said, I think the lack of focus that I have is going to change my behavior to hang out at a show all day with interacting with a bunch of very nice but random people, and even they're not symptomatic. You don't know. So you're going to get in and get out. And my two favorite card shops are Burbank and Mike's Stadium Sports Cards. Well, Burbank, you don't even have to go in there. They're so well organized digitally. Mike's, going into Aurora, Colorado, you're just gonna have a good time. But do you want to have a good time for a couple hours in there? I don't know. I think that whole relational experience of the hobby is going to be called into question. That there's some risk of and that's sad because he's done a great thing. He's the epitome of a very relational card shop that you can enjoy. He calls it more of a local hangout.
Sure, right.
It's in jeopardy now, and that's sad.
It is. I do think within the next, say, 6 months, and I hope I'm right for all of our sakes. I think maybe not even that long. I think we'll get closer to wanting to go in there and enjoy that socialization without the threat of it being a risk issue for our health. But I mean, who knows? And unfortunately, I'm sure some breakers are going to go out of business. Some LCSs might go out of business over the next few months because they're not cash flow positive, and they can't weather the storm as others might be able to. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope they can stay healthy, but at some point, it's going to be difficult. And I do think that people are going to need to really start to narrow their focus moving forward, because for the next little while, whether it's a couple weeks, couple months, and beyond, there might be less disposable income. And so you just can't go buy everything that looks pretty and say, "Ooh, I want that." You may really have to decide, pick and choose. And of course, that's a ripple effect. It's going to affect the distributors. It's going to affect the manufacturers. And who knows if this is a short-term or a long-term issue that we're faced with this hobby.
Absolutely.
And I'll come at it from the store aspect. I had a store from 92 to 96. I mean, it's sad to hear that. I mean, some of my greatest memories are not always the big sale days, but just the customers coming in and the camaraderie and the bantering with them, talking about what's going on in the world of sports or in cards, and to hear that it's going to be sort of a, the post COVID-19 might be, hey, I want that. I'll pay for that, and you're kind of out. I'm old school to a fault, but I'm sort of sad to hear that we might lose some of that banter and
I know,
and chat and camaraderie that, to me, sometimes I remember some of those conversations more than, hey, we had a huge sale day today.
Exactly.
And so I hope it's not severe. I know it's going to be different. You got to realize that. I just hope it's not really, really too bad or too different.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, y'all, Mr. Beckett, it looks like we are at the end of the show today. If Ben, John, anything else that you guys have to add today, real quick, or?
Well, I just want to thank Dr. Beckett for coming on, giving us some time. I'll definitely let him, if I'll let him tell everyone else, but Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. 10, 15 minutes, great insight, like the name implies.
Yes.
They cover a variety of topics, and I've told this to him directly. One of the things that's great about the show, you don't know what the next one the following day is going to be about. So it's that great anticipation, and obviously a lot of experience he brings to the table, which is immense. And so I recommend, if you're not listening, I don't know why, but if you're not, give that a listen for sure.
And Mr. Beckett, please let us know. Please let everybody know where they can find the show, because it really is just a wonderful listen.
Well, thanks, guys. I just, like I said, I called it Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. It's available on 10 or 12 podcast platforms, pretty much everywhere. I mean, it's probably the same places where all of y'all's are. I actually put a couple episodes on YouTube, but it's just the audio, so there's no traction there. But a lot of iTunes and Apple Podcasts. But again, I'm a faithful listener. Sports Card Nation. John is my unpaid PR person. He very well. I would hire him if I was in the hiring mode, but I'm not. And I love Let Me Get That Autograph and About the Cards. I mean, I'm just, it's pretty amazing what's going on now, and it's more timely than the old days of getting our magazine or SCD or Trader Speaks, 50 years ago. I mean, it's when something happens, you can get different viewpoints on it. And I've got my own different viewpoint. And John, I got to tell you, I don't know what the episode. I actually do know what the episode's going to be on Monday, but I don't know what it's going to be on Tuesday. And the fact that it doesn't have to be linear is. I had so many years of just deadlines where one thing. We had a different issue coming out every week of a magazine and a sport, and now to be a little bit of a free, go with the flow and see what people are asking about. It's been a lot of fun, and again, I can enjoy listening to y'all's podcast too. So y'all do a great job. And again, I'm not a copycat. I want to do something original, and but you guys are doing original stuff too.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beckett, both for those comments. It's very very honoring, and for joining the show. And please, anytime you'd like to call in, even if it's spur of the moment, you're always welcome.
Well, I may even be welcome to ask a question.
Oh, sure. Next
time I call in, I'll have a question and put you guys on the spot.
We would love. I would absolutely love that. That's on the bucket list. I would love to have Dr. Beckett call in and ask a question.
Yeah, because it's not very often. Sorry that we're giddy. It's not very often we get a hobby legend like yourself.
Yeah, seriously,
whose name is synonymous with the hobby on here. And so when I found out you were coming on and I was going to be on, I was like, man, this is the 8-year-old holding the Beckett under the hand, going, dude. I get to talk to him today, so it's
exactly
pretty neat.
Yeah.
You only had one question, and I'm sorry I disappointed you, but
far from a disappointment.
No, I appreciate your candor, and like I said, my Twitter is already. I'm gonna have fun today because everybody's gonna say, "Well, now he said you're wrong, so therefore it's in stone."
Guys, this could be the new normal. This is the interaction that we're going to have for the next 6 weeks.
Yes,
I'm not going to see anybody at a card show. And so, video conferencing and other kinds of, the colorful visibility. The closest thing. We're not going to be there. We can't get together right now. So let's make the most of it. It's been a fun way to spend some time on a Saturday morning.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thanks again for joining us, Mr. Beckett, and look forward to talking with you soon.
You bet.
Wow, guys, this is why I love this show. Come on, are you kidding me? Me? Like, just I love it.
No matter what you call him, I think the word "the" has to be in front of it.
Yes,
the Dr. Jim Beckett.
If this was the UK, he'd be Sir Dr. Beckett.
Seriously, if we're putting like the Mount Rushmore and he's going to be on a very short list with Cy Berger and a few other people. you know, if you're making a list of 7 to 10 names that would be the top 4, his name goes right at the top of that list, and it might already be etched in it. And for him to want to talk to us, I mean,
yes, it's an absolute and total honor. It really is.
And but, at the end there brought out a great point. What we're doing here with this video podcast and this interaction, it's fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. But this might be, like he said, sort of the new norm. There may be more of this type of interaction than in person.
Well, you know what? As much as they want to push social distancing, Hobby Hotline's here to bring us all a little bit closer together. So,
share your mail days with us. You know, we'd love to see them, retweet them out if you're on Twitter. And like Ryan Cracknell's article said, you know, create some content. You know, if you have a YouTube channel, you know, throw your phone on and open up some cards, whether they're full boxes or your mail days, and share and you know, as long as they're clean. Hobby Hotline would have no problem, you know, standing beside those and saying, "Hey, this is some new content." Because right now, that's what we all need. We all need to stand together, shoulder to shoulder, and say we love the hobby. We're passionate about it, and you know, let's have some fun during these dark times, because we all need each other now more than ever. And I think our bonds are going to be strengthened because of it. We're going to become better collectors and better friends as a result.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a lot of comments in the chat room saying great show and to stay safe and stay healthy. So I want to just right back at you guys. Stay, you know, to you and yours, not just you, your family, your friends. Stay safe, stay healthy. Like Ben said, together we'll get through it. Hopefully sooner rather than a later long period. But you know, this is fun. This will you know. Hey, we spent an hour, had a great time, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, hopefully, guys, we were able to at least get your mind off things a little bit. But like John said, I think all of this, honestly, is just going to bring the hobby that much closer together, because I say it on my show all the time. You guys say it on yours. We say it on here. This hobby community is a wonderful and amazing family. And so to all of our family members out there, stay safe, be careful, and we will see you guys next week.
Perfect.